Hello, friends. Welcome to this week's 30 Minute Thursdays, otherwise known as 30 Mint, where I bring you my weekly dose of fresh ideas and insights that are helping me to perform at my best. From my favorite recovery hacks, training philosophies, and analyzed guest insights, I will come prepared each week in hopes that you can apply these snippets to your everyday life. Now, let's get to the show. If you like it, please subscribe so that you do not miss future episodes. And for the true fans, leave a 5-star review on Spotify. This helps the show get discovered organically and helps me to continually bring on incredible guests for the main show. Today, we are diving into motivation. In this episode, you can expect to hear my opinion on why you can't rely on motivation, how to realize lasting improvement, goals, their value, and when to avoid them, and where to find the right kind of challenges. I hope you enjoy the show. Let's talk about motivation, one of my favorite topics, because in my eyes, it's one of the most useless things you can ever rely on when you're trying to accomplish anything. And the way that I like to explain this visually is motivation gets you in the car, driving gets you to the destination. And I think a lot of times people think that motivation is going to get them to the destination. But the fastest burning fuel that you can ever put in a car is motivation. It is sure to run out instantaneously. It's something that psychs us up. It gets us excited about things. It makes us want to put forth effort. But if that's the sole thing that's driving you towards what you're trying to accomplish, it is guaranteed to run out. And this is why so many people fail to accomplish what they're after. I see this countlessly in the fitness industry. For whatever reason, someone gets extremely motivated to lose weight, to change their lifestyle habits, to change the way that they eat, to exercise consistently. That can come from plenty of different reasons. Maybe they're motivated by fitting into new clothes. Maybe they have an upcoming wedding. Maybe they're going to see someone that they haven't in a long time and it's meaningful. Maybe they want to play with their kids. Maybe they're signing up for a race. Whatever it is, motivation is at an all-time high when they take on that endeavor. I'll use myself as an example. When I started this podcast, motivation was exceptionally high. I couldn't wait to do it. I thought that it would take off right away. I'd put in all this effort, get all the equipment, and get started. If that's the only thing you're relying on, then when you're 3 weeks into a weight loss journey and you haven't moved any pounds because lifestyle changes haven't adjusted to accompany that, you'll quit. If motivation has pushed you to start recording podcasts, but you get 2 years in and it's still growing, not where you want it to be, motivation is gone. So you would quit. If you decided that you wanted to work really hard and fit into a specific pair of clothes for an upcoming event, and you got 2 weeks in and they felt tighter, if motivation is the only thing driving you, you're going to quit. So what do we do with motivation and where is it useful? Again, it gets you in the car. I think that motivation can be a tool to get started, but it has to be recognized as that. It is just kindling. It is not the big logs on the fire that keep it burning. It's just something to spark your interest enough to get moving, to put one foot in front of the other. And for that, it has to be respected as a useful element in change. But it is not the source of the fuel. It is not what keeps it burning, and it's not what inches you closer to your goals. The main things that get you closer to what you want to accomplish, and this can be true for new challenges like taking up martial arts. It can be true for signing up and completing a marathon, your first triathlon. It could be trying to show up more for your children, show up to their games. Whatever it is, you need these couple things. Drive. Drive is the bigger overarching purpose behind what you're doing. Drive doesn't have an end date. It is just a constant fuel that keeps pushing you. Consistency is what keeps drive going. If you lack consistency in your efforts, it's an opportunity for pause, it's an opportunity for stagnation, it's an opportunity for plateau. So if those two things are working together, drive and consistency, you will smooth over severe dips and gains in motivation, because that's destined to happen as anything is taken on that's new, challenging, and different. Is there's going to be peak experiences that feel incredible. You're psyched. You dropped a whole waistline. You lost 10 pounds. You ran your fastest split. You tapped someone out in jiu-jitsu that's always giving you a tough time. Those moments will continually appear on the journey towards whatever you're doing. And they're the peaks. But the valleys are just as deep. And if you're only motivated, the valleys are going to eat you up. But if you have drive and consistency, you keep that steady track going in the direction that you want, and eventually you'll achieve the thing that you're after. So recognizing motivation as kindling, not as a driving force, recognizing drive and consistency. Drive can also be described as purpose. This can be your why, the reason for doing what you're doing. If the sole purpose for weight loss is to fit into a specific pair of jeans, the day that happens, that goal is done, there's no drive behind that. If the goal of weight loss is to establish better lifestyle habits and increase your longevity, well, now that lasts for a lifetime. So choosing the thing that you're after and making sure that you put drive and an opportunity for consistency behind it, that's going to be how you achieve that thing in the long run. The people that I've helped coach who really achieved the greatest feats in weight loss and lifestyle change were the ones that didn't just look one step ahead. They looked way down the line and they tried to ask themselves, why am I doing this? What is the thing that's making me want to take this on? Occasionally that's not clear in the beginning. And that's where consistency comes in, because it keeps stepping you forward towards that thing as clarity comes in and you define that purpose. But to see them achieve these great feats, losing 100 pounds, that's incredible. That is a small percentage of people in the world that can accomplish that. And watching someone do it in front of your eyes is one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. And it was done by consistency of training and a drive to change their life. Motivation was gone week 2. Motivation might even gone week 1 when the exercise got difficult and they were moving for the first time in their adult life. So recognizing that motivation, in essence, is BS as in terms of a driving force, but that motivation is a good kindling starting point. So how can you realize lasting improvement? I think that the most determinant factor in any endeavor, whether it's, again, ultra marathon, whether it's endurance running, taking on jiu-jitsu, which is an extremely long journey to achieve the black belt level, enjoying difficulty becomes a very important part of that. And I don't mean that in a masochistic perspective. I just mean that you have to have, on some level, respect challenge, because that's all you're going to be faced with. If you're going to run a marathon, you got a lot of training miles that you got to run in anticipation of that, just to finish, let alone to achieve it at a certain pace or a desired time limit. The second that you start adding those parameters in, now you're talking about speed training and on top of your volume training. That changes the emotions and the drive. So having something in this goal that is difficult, that gives you opportunity to sink into the discomfort and relax, is really important. It's important to understand that relationship. There's different ways that you can do this in your life. There's very small things, like I'll use the cold shower example again, because still to this day, after nearly a year of doing it every single day, I still don't look forward to it. But psychologically, there's some win there. That when I get in every day and I don't want to do it, and it's the very first thing I do, it's some sort of psychological hardening that makes enduring other types of goals and endeavors easy. Again, I use this podcast as an example because it's self-recorded, produced, edited, distributed, marketed, all the outreach, the guest booking. It's a one-man band. It's 7.5 hours every week. And that's not fun. Sitting with guests is fun. Talking to people is fun. The motivation at the beginning 2 years ago was to sit in front of guests and talk with them. But the difficulty of learning editing, learning audio production, learning distribution, learning web design so that you can host it in different places, all these things that are so far outside of my wheelhouse as a career personal trainer, it was difficult and not fun, unenjoyable, challenging. But because I've become accustomed to that, I can fall forward in that vein, keep experiencing the discomfort, and as a result, there's been 107 episodes made of the regular show. That happened because of finding this enjoyment in the discomfort, the enjoyment of learning, and the relationship of those two things, mixed with consistency and a drive, bigger purpose, to impact and reach as many people in the martial arts space as possible and give them value in training, human performance, and recovery. That's bigger than the excitement of I want to sit in front of cool people, because that was gone right away, just like any other goal. So finding difficulty, finding challenges that push you a little outside of your comfort zone, but don't deter you from doing them altogether, are so valuable. It's one of the reasons why I'm such a diehard enthusiast of jiu-jitsu. It is constant challenges despite improvement. It's crazy. You think you're getting better and you're just not in the ways that you want to be. You're challenged every single day. You're challenged by people that are, quote, less skilled than you. You're challenged by people that are more skilled than you. You're challenged by people that are newer and athletic. You're challenged by people that are older and more technical. No matter, I train every other day, every week, every month, now for 5+ years. And every time I go in, something is difficult. You play mind games with yourself. You start to know who gives you tough challenges, who tends to be a little bit less work. You start to play stupid games with yourself, and you have to harden down in the difficulty and the mindset that you're there to get better and you're there to make other people better. So finding that vein of difficulty and walking into it repeatedly will move you along, because now, 5+ years later, just in terms of ranking, purple belt versus a brand new white belt, that would never have happened if there wasn't consistency, a drive to improve in the sport and become a better psychological martial artist. If it was just motivated, like the first day, so psyched to try out jiu-jitsu and I get to wear a kimono and I get to train with other people and fight, that's gone. Week 1, that's gone. When your body's banged up, your neck hurts, you've been getting your ass literally kicked by every single person just because they've been doing it longer. Motivation was gone immediately, but a drive to improve was there. Consistency was there, and it's never gone away because I can rely on those things. So that's why I think that they're so valuable. So we'll talk about goals. The typical goal that someone is going to say that you should have is a SMART goal, which is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Those are the 5 parameters that make a goal SMART. And the reason behind this is because those factors tend to be pretty important. You want it specific to the person. It shouldn't be to improve fitness. Improving fitness for someone who's 400 pounds is a lot different than improving fitness who's a D1 collegiate wrestler. So if the goal is improving fitness, it's not very specific. Measurable. By how much? Improving fitness could be improving your resting metabolic rate and your active metabolic rate. Those are measurable metrics that you can test in the beginning, you can test at the end. It could be increasing the amount of weight that you can lift relative to your body weight. At the beginning, you know what that is. At the end, you know if you did it or not. It should be attainable. If you're 5'5", 110 pounds, deadlifting 800 pounds, probably not that realistic. So making things attainable to who you are and where you're at, that is such a key part of this. Where you are. You have to meet people where they're at in goal setting. You also have to meet yourself where you're at. If you've never competed in your life, winning Pan Ams your very first go might not be the most attainable goal. Attainable could be to commit to 3 tournaments in 1 year. Something you can measure, it's specific to you, it's realistic, it's attainable. That's how that works. Time-bound, the reason time-bound goals are valuable is because they give a start point to what you're pursuing. They give an end point to measure whether or not that was accomplished. Here's where people get hung up on SMART goals. An unwillingness to adjust as they're going through the process. So if you time bind your goal to a 1 month period and you hit that 1 month timeline and you come up short, that doesn't mean failure. It means that you recognize what was done well, you change what was done poorly, and then you adjust the timeline, you adjust the goals for the future. So using SMART goals can be really effective if you're someone who does well with goal setting. And I say this because not everybody fits into a SMART goal box, and that's a reality. Sometimes what people need to get moving is just a belief that that can even happen. Unfortunately, not everyone has high self-efficacy. And for whatever lifestyle factors they've experienced, not everyone has a belief in themselves that they can make it happen. So if you're by yourself and you're having trouble achieving things, forming a social network that supports that can be really valuable. Working with a coach can be really valuable. You have to find the system that works for you. So if setting up a specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-bound goal just seems like so much that you can't even get one foot in front of the other, start smaller. Reduce everything down. Maybe it's not time for that goal structure yet. That goal structure is valuable, but it doesn't always mean that it's the right thing to do. How does this play into motivation? Motivation is going to help you select which type of goal to choose. So if someone does come, for example, to a trainer highly motivated, they're really excited about dropping pounds. They're gonna lose 50 pounds in 3 weeks. They don't even care. They'll do whatever they have to do, and they're just absolute peak motivation. You have to accept that and work with it, assuming that it's going to all work out exactly as they say, because you would be doing a disservice to the person to just tell them that's BS and then knock them down. But you have to be very ready to adjust on the fly instantaneously to dips in motivation because, like I said in the beginning, it's coming. So meeting people where they're at, you have to also meet yourself where you're at. If you want to do a first marathon and you're extremely motivated, you found your stride in running, you found a couple different ones that you can do, you're thinking about which one to sign up, that might be a good time to set a SMART goal. You already want to do it. You've already found consistency and stride in the thing that you've been practicing. So put a specific goal. Which marathon? Make it measurable. How many do you want to do? In what time do you want to do it? Is it attainable based on your current splits? Is this a relevant goal and realistic? And how long until you want to do it? Structuring it this way can be perfect if you're someone who's in that vein ready for it. The other thing to think about with goals, if you're not ready to make it that tied down, is macro and micro of the goal. And this goes a little bit back to purpose. Maybe all that you can figure out is that you want to get healthier, and you haven't been able by yourself to come up with a SMART goal for that. You don't know about active and resting metabolic rate. You don't have a way to weigh yourself. You don't know your body fat percentage. If you don't have all these tools, that doesn't mean you should do nothing. So thinking macro, which direction do I want to go? I want to be healthier. What areas of my life are not lending it to that? Well, I don't even have a gym membership. I don't have a place where I can go and practice being healthier. Maybe it's time to sign up for one. Maybe you don't want a gym because that's not your culture. Maybe you don't like CrossFit. It's too intimidating. But a friend does jiu-jitsu. So maybe that's somewhere you can start. Giving yourself a macro understanding of what it is that you're trying to do will help you go in the direction that you want in the absence or the presence of motivation. One of the most valuable things I find with goals is that they allow you to build momentum. And momentum can be a bridge between motivation and consistency. And it's a very important piece of the puzzle. But it is hard to tie down because you have to have small wins to get there. At the beginning, when you're highly motivated, you can set up a schedule. You can aim for consistency. You can map it out in your calendar. You can say, I'm going to train 4 days a week, every single week from now until the end of the year. You can say whatever you want. But if you don't get a little bit of momentum in those early stages, it's going to be very hard to bridge high motivation into consistency. So, momentum can be built in a million different ways, but starting the absolute smallest that you can possibly start will move this needle. So if at an absolute base level, you don't know where to start, pack your bag and put it in your car. If you're trying to get healthier, put your gym bag in your car. Put it in an accessible place where you don't have to do it the next day. If you're trying to build momentum in jiu-jitsu, have an open mind. There's so many different facets in which you can learn in the sport. Through all those different facets, you're going to get your ass kicked because you're new, starting out. Or if you're later on and you're trying to get back into it, you need momentum. Let's say that you're a brown belt and you haven't trained for 2 years and you're getting back into it. You're going to get waxed by blue belts and purple belts that have been training the whole time you were gone. It's just going to happen because they've been consistent. They've been driven. They're figuring it out. You're going to go in there. So if your expectation is that you're going to step right back in where you were, your momentum is going to get obliterated. Your motivation is going to get sucked right out of you, and then you're going to be stuck dead in the water. So instead, go for momentum. Try to get a couple days in a row in a week. Try to get a couple weeks in a row in a month. Try to get 2 consecutive months in a year. Once you have 2 months, then you can talk about more specific goals. But that momentum in the beginning will build consistency. The consistency will get you in a place where you feel like you can start to take on challenges. And when you start to take on challenges, you can set goals and you can accomplish them. So let's talk about where to find the right kind of challenges. And this kind of encompasses everything that I've been talking about. So physical difficulty, mental difficulty, and hybrid challenges. I think that these are 2 components that lead to the third component in a very important structure of how to find the right type of difficulty. First, you need things to be physically difficult. Strength training needs to be physically difficult on some level. Your jiu-jitsu should be physically difficult on some level. Whatever you are doing needs to challenge your body. Physiologically, it should challenge your body. Mentally, things should be difficult. You should be having to work through puzzles within the challenge that you're pursuing. Marathon training, case in point, volume. Volume is mentally wearing. Once you figure out how to run, you can make it past 4 or 5 miles, you're good. You have the mechanics, probably could improve, but for the most part, you have the mechanics. You can get running done. When you got to go do 18, 20-mile training runs, the running part's done. Mile 2, you're in the zone. Now you got to do 18 more. That's mental difficulty. This is an example of a hybrid challenge, and I think that these are the most valuable types of challenges to pursue, to find this level of discomfort, to push through it, to find that consistency and stay driven through it so that you can accomplish what you want. Hybrid challenges possess both of these, this element of physical difficulty and this element of mental difficulty. I felt like this whenever I would do CrossFit training with my dad. It was physically very demanding from a strength and mechanics standpoint, but it's grueling to push yourself mentally through those training sessions. They really just wore me down. But when you pop out on the other side, your self-efficacy just increases. You see what you accomplished, you see what you did, and you feel good about it, and you feel like, I think I could do that again. And it's that moment, right where you feel like it's a possibility, that you can double down on it, and that keeps you going in the same direction. Every single time I train jiu-jitsu, it gives me both a physical challenge, it's anaerobic, my heart rate's high, I'm using strength, I'm using leverage, I'm using technique, and it gives me a mental challenge. I'm trying to solve this live chess game in real time, 100% present, focused on the thing at hand, trying to do it. It is the most beautiful hybrid challenge that I've ever been able to partake in. You can find these types of hybrid challenges in many different places. They don't always hit, but sometimes you'll get one or the other, but it's the combination of them together that really pushes me past motivation. In these kind of sports, you get to a point where you know you're not motivated anymore, and you're just going through it. You're staying consistent, and you're driven, and you're doing the thing that you said that you would do. You set out to do it, you told yourself you would, and now you are. And it's not because you're motivated. It's because you're driven. And it's because you're consistent with your efforts. And when you accomplish the thing, it's a notch in the belt, and you get to then choose what you want to do next. And all the while, you're sponging up all these valuable habits. I've recently trained a client for the New York Marathon that's coming up on November 4th. And it has been incredible watching this person change just by the fact that the goal is so big and the run volume so serious that they have to get their training program done. Motivation was gone for this person so fast. But they had committed. They were driven by this charity that they're running for, and they found consistency with the help of a coach to keep doing it. And there's been a lot of conversations along the way of getting back on task, focusing again. There's been a ton of physical difficulty. The body is banged up, a week and a half out from the marathon. There's been a ton of mental training in getting themselves to overcome the training demands and keep showing up and learn how to take care of their body, learn how to actually commit to a stretch protocol, learn how to schedule and get massage and dry needling and do all these things that keep them in the mix. Motivation's so gone. It was gone years ago. But they are staying on, and they're staying consistent because they're driven for this big goal. That's why motivation, in my eyes, is BS. It is a small pile of kindling that you can use to get a fire started, but you better have big logs of motivation of, geez, look at that. Big logs of consistency and drive nearby to put on that. Thank you for hanging out to the end. 30-minute Thursdays, dive into motivation. If I'm being 100% transparent, I think it's because I haven't finished my overnight oats here. Brain not 100% on board, so I appreciate those of you who hung with till the end. If any of this connected with you, you found a snippet valuable, something that you can apply to your everyday life, please throw a 5-star review on Spotify. It helps the show so much with organic discovery. And keep your eyes out. In the next 2 weeks, the website will be 100% live and functioning. You can go there to check out sponsors, to check out deals, to hear the backstory. You can apply to be a sponsor if you're someone who's looking to expand your brand. And if you feel so inclined, you can donate to help with the production costs. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Tune in next Tuesday, special guest on the show for episode 108.